Okay, composition check on this. I already established a composition and then I moved this down after I drew the bird because I didn't want to cut off so much of the tail because there's some really beautiful kind of feather colors happening down here and I didn't want to lose that. It did kind of almost center the bird from left to right, and that's not usually how I roll, but kind of just going with it. I was happy with the way this moved through the space, but then when I added the ink, it created a little bit of a problem where we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these focal points or areas of interest and emphasis, and these two in particular are bugging me a little bit because they're kind of almost in line and looking a little bit like eyeballs. So I'm going to have to probably move the eye up, and I'll probably do it here as opposed to here because this one is already a little bit higher up as it is, and this one I'm really liking these strands moving through the negative space, and I'm already kind of filling quite a bit of negative space here. There's a little bit less space than I would like, so I might add some just pure alcohol to kind of thin out a few of these areas here. And I might add another circular area just because 4 is not ideal and they're kind of creating a box and the eye is moving around like this. So I don't really love that. Things will change when I add in the bird, which I'm still working on a little bit. I have a few different, I freehanded this from several sources, so I'm kind of fixing and adjusting some proportions. The beak was a little bit too large here and I made that smaller to look less like a parrot, and then kind of seeing how the depth in the body is going to maybe change the way the eye moves through the space. But right now there are some compositional issues to work through. The palette is clearly red, black, white, and gray right now, and we'll probably only depart from that in the beak. The rest of it's going to stay super limited, but I might be using some of this pure red as a way to redirect the eye as a color with high saturation. Okay, another composition and color check here. Got a little bit further on a bunch of the bird. Took care of this issue here and made this higher focal point even brighter than this one. So now we have 5 areas of emphasis like that, and these are kind of clustered together and moving upward off the edge of the picture plane. Added some pure alcohol to mute out these grays, and the alcohol had a little bit of red residue in it, which I like. It kind of created this soft pink here. When painting in the bird, did notice that, you know, using black, white, and gray, the gray that I have for the ink leans very warm. So in comparison to the grays created by black and white oil paint, this is more of a pure gray, and this is a very warm gray. So I'm not really liking how blue this is looking. I think I'm going to reserve that to show the feet and then try to bring quite a bit more warmth into the gray here, because I did like how this area of the beak with some yellow and pinks started to reflect the colors that I'm seeing over here, which I think is working out quite nicely. I also don't love how the pure white, which is a little bit hard to see in this lighting, the pure white in the breast of the bird is cooler than the white background. This is a much creamier white, and I'm kind of looking for them to match more, which isn't necessarily always the case, but in this case I do want to bring some of this creaminess into the bird so that the palette is even more limited, basically. I'm trying to, you know, mimic some of the same colors so that I'm narrowing the palette versus expanding it, which could be a technique that varies depending on what you're doing. Just adding some sort of finishing touches by going back into the black with black ink, because you can see how the black ink reflects as a true black, and the black oil paint it's got like a matte quality to it, and it almost appears to be a dark gray. So you can see in these areas where I've added sort of true black, that's going to give that three-dimensional quality. And then I'm going to go back in with some shadows in the feet, and in a little bit more in the body. I took some of the red down into here just to draw the eye and create a bit more of a diagonal here with the red. Some of the red ink is in the breast as well to kind of marry the foreground and background together, which is a little bit unconventional, but I've found that ink actually can overlap on this oil paint, which is a water-soluble oil paint, so it's actually drying pretty quickly. So now we're just going in with some true blacks and some details, and then we'll be done.